Forecasting involves various methods used by management to try to predict future outcomes. The method described in this video will be the simple moving average. Depending upon what type of information you are trying to predict, you may choose to use one of the different types of moving averages, as there are a few. Understanding the concepts of the simple moving average will lay the groundwork for tackling the more complex versions, but on its own it can be an effective tool for many tasks that you encounter. A simple moving average uses historical data collected over certain predefined time periods in an effort to identify existing trends that may carry into the future. If you have ever seen a stock chart, chances are likely that you have seen a moving average line. This stock chart shows moving averages A and B. The closer the moving average follows the data, the shorter the time period it represents. Since A flows up and down alongside the stock price, moving average A represents a much shorter time frame than B, as B flows down once and rises only once. Now that you know what one looks like, what can you tell from them? In a basic sense, a simple moving average is a series of rolling means or averages of data using the same number of data points within each calculation while also moving along the same data set in a step-like fashion in succession. From these calculated points, you can then estimate or forecast a future value. Verbally, it may sound confusing, but visually, it is much easier to understand. The following data set represents the series of numbers that we will use to explain how to calculate a simple 5-day moving average, starting with the first point on the left and add it to the next 4 numbers in the sequence. Looking, we have 12 plus 14 plus 9 plus 13 plus 15, and the result is 63. Now divide this by 5 to get the average or the mean of those 5 numbers. So 63 divided by 5 equals 12.6. Repeat this process, but start with the second number in the sequence to acquire the next average. 14 plus 9 plus 13 plus 15 plus 17 equals 68. Divide by 5 to get the mean of this subset of data. 68 divided by 5 equals 13.6. Next, we start with the third value in this series and repeat the process. 9, 13, 15, 17, and 11 added together equals 65. Divided by 5 and you get 13. You should repeat this process until the last number in the entire series, which is 14, is included within the calculation. Your values should be 12.6, 13.6, 13, 13.8, 13.2, and then 13. If plotted on the graph, the line connecting these points would represent your 5-day moving average, with the last calculated value of 13 representing the forecasted value for the next value in the series. Using a practical example will help. You are trying to determine next year's fountain beverage sales using the following data, based upon a 5-year running average. You do not need all the data presented to solve this, as you are not trying to plot the data, you are just trying to forecast a value for the next year. Only the values from the last 5 years are needed to forecast the next year. If you were using a 3-year moving average, you would only need the last 3 years, and so on. Totaling up the last 5 years of our data, our result is 990,000. Now to get the average, we divide by the total number of years, which is 5, and our result is 198,000. This is our forecasted value for next year. Some key points that need to be mentioned. The number of periods that are used to calculate the moving average can be almost any value, as long as there is data to support it and it is feasible to determine it. The time periods can also vary greatly, as they can represent days, years, hours, minutes, business quarters, as examples. If the time frame is useful and there is data available, then it can be used to forecast. The method is always the same. The formula to forecast from a simple moving average is the forecasted value is equal to the sum of the last n periods divided by n, where n is the number of periods that are required. RDStudy.com video tutorials are produced and owned by Nutrition News Network, LLC. Any copying, reuse, or redistribution, in full or in part for any purpose without the written consent of Nutrition News Network, LLC, is prohibited. All rights reserved.